Have you ever said yes when every part of you was screaming no? Maybe it was agreeing to a last-minute favor for a friend when you were already stretched thin, or staying on the phone with someone who drains you just because you didn't want to seem rude. Or perhaps it was in a relationship letting your partner cross a line again because you were afraid of upsetting them. You tell yourself you're being kind, flexible, or easygoing, but deep down you feel resentful, exhausted, like you're losing pieces of yourself just to keep others happy. Picture this. You're at dinner with someone you're dating. They're talking about their day, barely pausing to ask about yours. You want to speak up to say, hey, I'd love to share too, but the words stick in your throat. What if they think you're needy? What if they pull away? So you smile, nod, and swallow your feelings, hoping they'll notice your effort and love you more for it. But instead, you leave the date feeling unseen, like you're playing a supporting role in your own life. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. So many of us have been conditioned to believe that saying no or setting boundaries makes us selfish, mean, or unlovable. We fear that drawing a line will push people away, leave us rejected, or prove we're too much. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about protecting your peace so you can show up as your best self. They're not walls, they're doors that let the right people in. And I'm going to show you how to set them with confidence, without guilt, and in a way that deepens your relationships, not destroys them. Losing yourself to keep someone else. Let me tell you about Chloe. She was 28, a nurse with a heart so big it seemed to have no edges. Chloe came to me for coaching after a breakup that left her feeling like a shell of herself. I don't even know who I am anymore, she said, her voice quiet but heavy with pain. She'd been with Mark for 2 years, a charming guy who swept her off her feet with grand gestures and promises of forever. But as their relationship grew, Chloe found herself shrinking to fit his needs. It started subtly. Mark would text her at all hours, expecting instant replies even during her 12-hour hospital shifts. If she didn't respond right away, he'd get moody, saying things like, I guess I'm not important to you. So Chloe started keeping her phone on during breaks, typing out long replies to reassure him, even when she was bone tired. She'd cancel plans with friends to avoid his sulking, agree to dates she didn't have the energy for, and bite her tongue when he made snarky comments about her boring job. I thought I was being a good partner, she told me. I thought if I gave more, he'd see how much I cared. But the more Chloe gave, the more Mark took. He'd show up late to their dates, flake on plans, or dismiss her feelings with a quick, you're overreacting. Chloe kept trying harder, believing that if she could just be more understanding, more patient, more everything, he'd change. But instead, she felt like she was disappearing. I stopped saying what I needed, she said, tears welling up. I was so scared he'd leave if I stood up for myself. Then Mark ended things, citing different paths. Chloe was devastated, not just because of the breakup, but because she'd lost herself in the process. She realized she'd been bending over backward to keep someone who didn't respect her boundaries. I gave everything, she said, and I still wasn't enough. Chloe's story was still unfolding. She was learning to rebuild herself, but her pain was a wake-up call. Without boundaries, you risk losing yourself to keep someone who was never yours to begin with. Psychology, boundaries versus walls, the fear of abandonment. Why is it so hard to set boundaries? It's not just about being nice or avoiding conflict. It's about fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being seen as difficult, fear of being left alone. If you grew up in a home where love felt conditional, where you had to earn it by being good or pleasing others, your brain learned that boundaries are risky. Saying no might mean losing love. Setting a limit might mean being abandoned, so you keep giving, hoping it will secure your place in someone's heart. But here's the difference between boundaries and walls. A wall shuts people out completely, built from mistrust or self-protection. A boundary is a clear, loving line that says, this is what I need to feel safe and respected. Boundaries aren't about control or punishment, they're about clarity. They're not about keeping people away, You're teaching them how to love you better. Boundaries in texting, dating, and relationships. Setting boundaries doesn't mean being harsh or confrontational. It's about being clear, calm, and kind while standing firm in your worth. Here are practical steps and scripts you can use today in 3 key areas: texting, dating, and relationships. 1. Boundaries in texting. Texting can be a minefield for people pleasers. Maybe you feel obligated to reply instantly even when you're busy, or you stress over crafting the perfect response to keep someone happy. Here's how to set boundaries without shutting things down. Pause before responding. You don't owe anyone an instant reply. If someone texts you during a busy moment, give yourself permission to wait. A boundary here is about protecting your time and energy. Script for overtexting. If someone's texting you too much or expecting constant replies, try this. Hey, I love hearing from you, but I'm swamped at work right now. I'll get back to you tonight when I can give you my full attention. This is kind, clear, and sets an expectation. Script for late night texts. If they're texting you at 2 a.m., expecting a chat, say, hey, I'm not usually up this late, but let's catch up tomorrow. You're not rejecting them. You're just setting a limit on when you're available. 2. Boundaries in dating. Dating is where boundaries get tested early. Maybe they're pushing for more time or intimacy than you're ready for, or they're inconsistent, leaving you chasing their attention. Here's how to hold your ground. Know your needs. If they're flaking on plans or showing up late, don't brush it off. Try this. I'm really excited to see you, but I need someone who's reliable with plans. Can we make sure we're both on the same page? This invites them to step up without accusing them. Script for rushing intimacy. If they're pushing for physical or emotional closeness too soon, say, I'm enjoying getting to know you, but I need to take things at my own pace to feel comfortable. Let's keep building this slowly. You're setting a boundary while keeping the door open. Script for disrespectful comments. If they make a joke that stings, don't laugh it off. Try, hey, that comment didn't sit well with me. I'd appreciate it if we could keep things respectful. You're calling it out without escalating. 3. Boundaries in relationships. In a committed relationship, boundaries can feel trickier. You're invested, and the stakes are higher. But they're even more important to maintain your sense of self. Script for emotional overload. If your partner unloads their stress on you without reciprocating, say, I want to be there for you, but I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Can we make space to talk about how I'm doing too? This creates balance without dismissing their needs. Script for repeated letdowns. If they keep breaking promises, try, when you say you'll do something and don't follow through, it makes me feel unimportant. I need us to be consistent with each other. Can we work on this? You're addressing the behavior, not attacking them. Script for space. If you need time for yourself, say, I love spending time with you, but I also need some solo time to recharge. It helps me show up as my best self for us. This frames the boundary as a positive for the relationship. Tips for all boundaries. Use I statements. Focus on your feelings and needs. I feel, I need, rather than blaming you always. Be calm and kind. Deliver your boundary with warmth, not anger. It's about clarity, not conflict. Expect pushback. Some people will test your boundaries. Stay firm but gentle. If they can't respect your limits, they're showing you who they are. Practice in low-stakes situations. Start with small boundaries, like saying no to a minor favor, before tackling bigger ones. It's like building a muscle. These scripts aren't magic, but they're a start. They give you language to honor your needs while keeping the connection open. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Empowerment. How setting limits earns respect and deepens intimacy. Here's the beautiful paradox of boundaries. When you set them, you don't push the right people away. You pull them closer. People who respect you will respect your boundaries. They'll see your strength, your clarity, and your self-worth, and they'll want to meet you there. Boundaries don't make you unlovable. They make you magnetic. Think about someone you admire. Chances are they're not a doormat. They know their worth, and they don't let others trample it. That's what boundaries do. They signal to the world that you value yourself and they invite others to value you too. In relationships, boundaries create safety. When both people know where the lines are, you can trust each other to show up authentically without fear of being taken advantage of. But boundaries do more than protect. They deepen intimacy. When you're clear about your needs, you give your partner a roadmap to love you better. You're not playing guessing games or resenting them silently. You're saying, this is who I am and this is how we can build something real. That vulnerability paired with strength creates a bond that's stronger than any people-pleasing ever could. And yes, some people might walk away when you set boundaries. That's okay. If someone leaves because you asked for respect, they were never going to stay. You're not losing love. You're clearing space for the kind of love that sees you, honors you, and lifts you up. You're making room for people who don't need you to shrink to fit their world. Self-respect is the gate to real love. Take a deep breath and let this sink in. You don't have to give yourself away to be loved. You don't have to say yes when you mean no, or silence your needs to keep someone close. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about pulling yourself closer to the life and love you deserve. Imagine a version of you who says no without guilt, who asks for what you need without fear, who walks away from anyone who doesn't respect your worth. That version of you isn't cold or selfish. She's radiant, grounded, and free. She's the one who attracts people who love her for her strength, not her sacrifice. She's already inside you, waiting for you to step into her power. So here's your challenge. Start small. Say no to one thing this week that doesn't feel right. Use one of the scripts I gave you. Notice how it feels to honor yourself. And when the guilt creeps in, remind yourself of this truth. Self-respect is the gate to real love. When you set boundaries, you're not just protecting your heart, you're opening it to the kind of love that sees you, values you, and stays. You deserve nothing less.